On Tuesday night, my girlfriend found a door we'd never seen in our apartment. Not a trapdoor, not a panel. An actual interior door with a knob and trim, tucked between our coat rack and the radiator like it had always been there, patient and impolite. We stopped breathing and just looked at it, because the air felt like stale tea, too steep to swallow. The paint on the door matched the wall, but imperfectly, as if the wall had learned a language late in life and was still getting the vowels wrong. Lena whispered, "Did you move anything?" I shook my head and felt foolish for doing it quietly, like the door had ears. I touched the trim with the back of my fingers. It was warm where the steam pipe ran behind the wall, and cold just beneath. A neat little weather front 10 inches wide. We hadn't gotten a new door. It had gotten us. Our landlord, Mr. Reyes, lives in the building next door but treats ours like a reluctant cousin. He answers every text with a voice memo because he says typing is for liars. I sent him a photo. 3 dots, then his voice. "That isn't ours." I wrote back, "It's in our living room." Another memo arrived, longer. "Listen," he said, "you have 2 original doors, bedroom and bath, plus the entry, plus the closet slider. If you're seeing more than that, it is not our door. Do not open it. Do not count the hinges. If it knocks, don't answer, no matter what it says it forgot inside." Lena and I looked at each other with the same thought. Right, and we'll just ignore the new hole in our life. She started to laugh, maintenance hysterics, the brand you get when something breaks in a way Elise never covered. I held up my phone speaker so we could both hear Mr. Reyes continue. He said we could put a dresser in front of it, tape a towel across the gap, turn the TV up, and pretend it was a weird seam in the paint. He said, it's not ours. If you open it, it becomes yours. If you claim it, it will claim you back." He hung up. We both stared at the knob like it might blink. I couldn't help noticing details. My brain likes inventory when afraid. The knob wasn't brass. It was some dull alloy that didn't take fingerprints. The trim nails had been set and puttied, but the putty had tiny bubbles in it, like it had outgassed from another climate. At the baseboard, a hairline crack showed me darkness as thin as a string. Behind the radiator, continued warmth. Beneath the door, continued cold. It felt like the building having 2 thoughts at once. We slid the bookcase in front of it anyway. We put a rug down. We kept living, loudly and with intent. By midnight, the apartment had settled into that very specific city stillness where the only moving thing is the sound of someone else's shower 4 floors down. Lena went to brush her teeth. I scrolled until my eyes went sandpapery, then stood to turn off the lamp. The bookcase wasn't flush anymore. Not far. Just enough that the rug had folded into a pleat at one corner, the way fabric does when a door brushes it from the other side. I pushed the shelf back until it kissed the trim. Metal whispered on paint. From the bathroom, Lena spat and said, "Did you hear that?" I didn't answer because the knob was turning. Very slow. The shelf shivered a millimeter, then stilled. "Who's there?" I hated myself for asking, and hated how small I sounded asking it. Silence. Then 3 knocks, precisely spaced. We'd blocked the door, but it had perfect posture. Lena came to stand beside me, foam at the corner of her mouth, nightshirt hanging off one shoulder like a shrug. She whispered, "Please don't answer it." I whispered. Mr. Reyes said the same. Another knock, another pause, and then a voice that was nobody's and everybody's, like the noise you think is your name in a crowd. "We left my keys in there." The grammar tripped me. We left my keys. Also the we. I don't know why that made it worse, but it did. My phone buzzed in my back pocket with a new message from Mr. Reyes. "Forgot to tell you, cover any powered clocks. They like the colons. Also, if either of you is good at not counting, hum. Noise that doesn't organize helps. Do not say the number of knocks even to each other." We covered the microwave, the stove clock, the router's little heartbeat. Lena started humming an ugly, stubborn melody from a song she always skipped in the car. I added low harmony that wasn't harmony at all. After a while, the cold at the baseboard felt less like winter and more like an idea getting bored. The knock stopped. The knob settled. We didn't move the bookcase back into a better block because better blocks make rules and rules make patterns, and patterns make invitations. We slept on the couch with the lamp on and our shoes on and our teeth unbrushed like teenagers after a horror movie. Except we were the movie and we knew the landlord's line by heart. It's not ours. In the morning the door was still there, as perfectly not ours as before. But at the bottom, someone had pushed a slip of paper through the crack. On one side, a drawing of our living room, wobbly but right. Couch, lamp, plant, bookcase. On the other, a sentence in careful block letters. If you open me, I will stop asking. Lena looked at me like I was the only adult in the room. I looked at the note like it was a bill we couldn't pay. Outside, a truck hissed and a pan clanged upstairs loudly. We stared at the note for a long time, like it might bloom into an explanation if we gave it light. Lena turned it over in her hands 3 times and handed it back as if passing a hot plate. I don't know which part was worse, the drawing of our living room from a point of view that didn't exist, or the sentence that sounded like a promise and a threat holding hands. I said, "We're not opening anything." She said, "Then it will keep asking." We both looked at the covered clocks like addicts looking at a bottle. I called Mr. Reyes again. He sent a memo instead of picking up like always. "I'm on your landing," he said. "I brought tags. I won't cross your threshold. Don't invite me in. Don't say please. Leave the chain on. When I knock, don't count. Just say, 'Not ours.'" He arrived like weather. 3 soft knocks, not spaced evenly, thank God. I put the chain across and opened the door a thumb's width. He stood sideways to the gap, as if refusing to show the apartment his full face. In his hand was a battered clipboard and a paper grocery bag that smelled like wax and steel. He slid a stack of forms and a strip of blue painter's tape through the crack. He kept his eyes on the hall. He said, "Sign nothing. Say nothing with numbers. Put this on the trim, left side first, then top, then right, then bottom. Do not complete the rectangle. Leave the baseboard open. It needs an exit." "What is it?" I asked, hearing my voice jump an octave. He shook his head once. "Old cities collect debts," he said. "People build over them. Sometimes the debt knocks. Your job is not to be a ledger. Your job is to be a bad address." We did what he said. The form at the top read "Notice of Non-Acceptance." The language was absurd and specific, like a curse written by a clerk. The key sentence said, "This aperture is designated utility access. Building only, not for tenants, not a door." Lena pressed the left edge of the paper to the trim and smoothed the tape like it was a bandage on a child. I reached for the top edge and paused. The knob turned beneath the bookcase, slow as a tide. We hummed louder. I pressed the top in place, then the right. The paper came back a second later, pushed from below by the breadth of the gap. It had been corrected in tidy red pencil. Not a door had been crossed out. Someone had written a door in careful capitals and added a little star. Beneath that, a note in the same hand. "Please initial each page. Use blue ink." I handed the paper to Mr. Reyes through the crack. He didn't touch it. He said, "Slide it under the radiator." He took a stub of white chalk from his bag and passed that instead. "Chalk the hinge side," he said softly. "Not on the metal. On the air. Say it like you mean it, utility access, building only. Say it again wrong so it can't repeat you back with power." We said it. We said it wrong. Our humming broke and braided and found itself again. The door tried a new voice. It was Lena's father asking where the good screwdriver was. It was my sister asking if I'd seen the spare keys. It was nobody saying, "We left my wallet. Can you pass it under?" Lena squeezed my sleeve so hard the seam popped. She whispered, "Don't answer." I whispered, "Don't number the whispers." Mr. Reyes talked to the hall as if to a stubborn dog. "Hey," he said, as if to something he knew. "You're not getting a contract here. We see you. We revoke. Go chew the service stair." The knob cooled by a breath. The gap pulled a thin thread of cold over my toes. Another paper slid out. My handwriting this time, which made my stomach flip, said, "We already opened it." I remembered nothing of that. The date in the corner was last week. We had been at Lena's mother's birthday all night. I could see the cake in my head, 6 crooked candles and 1 bent match. I could smell the icing. I could not find the hour between washing our hands and finding our shoes. Lena put her finger on the date and shook her head. We didn't, she said. We didn't. Mr. Reyes said, it loves a receipt. Tear it. Do not tear evenly. We ripped the paper wrong on purpose and hummed our ugly duet harder. The radiator clanged like it hated us. The bookcase scooted a finger's width on its felt feet. The form on the trim fluttered as if reading itself aloud. I thought if it were mine, I would have to feed it. If it were mine, it would sleep at the foot of the bed and breathe in my ear until I made a pattern that fit its teeth. Hold, Mr. Reyes said, low and tired. Almost. The knocks returned. They were not spaced evenly. They were so close to being even that my brain tried to fill the gap. Lena stuck her fingers in her ears and sang the alphabet out of order. I sang the months starting in June and going backward until I hit and invented one. The gap hissed. The knob let go. The cold under the baseboard receded like a tide made of ideas. We waited so long that my legs went tingly and my mouth stopped being a desert and became a lake. Mr. Reyes cleared his throat and said, don't celebrate. Give it time to sulk. The building will forget the extra. That's the trick. You don't defeat it. You bore it. Eventually, the room remembered how to be one room. We pushed the bookcase flush. The paper on the trim held. The knob looked like a circle drawn by a child with a heavy hand. I pressed my palm to the paint and felt nothing but wall and the faint warmth of the pipe. Lena laughed a laugh that sounded like a cough. Mr. Reyes let out a memo that was actually a sigh. He said, good. Eat something. Hide the tape. If you see it again, don't make it welcome. He left the bag on our mat. Inside were extra forms, extra tape, a stick of wax, a tiny brush, and a pencil sharpener with red shavings in its belly. There was also a single line written on a blank card. If it stops asking, check the rest of your rooms. We ate cereal at noon like kids and discussed moving like adults and did neither with conviction. By late afternoon, the apartment looked ordinary enough that ordinary felt like a prank. The covered clocks looked silly in daylight. The bookcase looked heavy and honest. We napped with our shoes in the hall just in case sleep had rules now. We woke to an email from the management portal. Subject line, Addendum. The message was short and cheerful. Dear tenants, in compliance with updated code, management has installed an additional egress in your unit. Please do not obstruct. Call with any questions. We looked at each other. We looked at the living room wall. The paper still read not a door with a stubborn strip of blue tape. The bookcase still breathed like a heavy sleeper. The wall felt like wall. We walked to the bedroom. The closet slider sat where it always had, cheap and off its track. Beside it, where there had been nothing but paint and the low hum of the building learning our names, there was a new door. Same alloy knob. Same imperfect trim. Same temperature seam. It opened an inch and shut as we stood there, as if embarrassed. From the crack, a slip of paper sighed onto the floor. On one side, a drawing of our bedroom from an angle that didn't exist. On the other, a sentence in the same careful block letters. Thank you for not making me wait. We did not knock. We did not hum. We stood very still and did the math we were not supposed to do, because sometimes the difference between a ritual and a rule is the hour you're standing in. If we open it, it becomes ours. If we don't, it walks the walls until it finds a room that will agree to be a ledger. I picked up the landlord's blank card. I wrote in ugly block letters so it couldn't learn my handwriting twice. Not at this address, I wrote. Return to sender. I slid it into the crack without looking, without asking, without counting the distance. The door breathed in. The card did not come back. We slept in the living room that night with the clocks covered and the TV off and the bookcase a steady shoulder at our backs. At 3 in the morning, or whatever hour was pretending to be 3, the bedroom doorknob turned and settled. In the morning there was nothing on the floor but dust and a red shaving from the sharpener, like a small curled tongue.